Welcome to the official podcast of the Miami-Dade County Homeless Trust. We're sitting down today to discuss a very encouraging start to 2025, the record low number of people on our streets according to January's point-in-time survey of homelessness in Miami. From the studios of the M Network, I'm Thom Mozloom. This is the official podcast of the Homeless Trust. Joining us on set, the Executive Director, Victoria Mallette, Chairman of the Board, Ron Book. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's a big day. Your point-in-time survey is in. We have numbers historically low. Give me your overall reaction.
I'm thrilled. We saw a 17% reduction in unsheltered homelessness. We have not seen numbers like that in over a decade. I think our focus has quickly turned to how do we keep those numbers down and continue to have this downward trend.
So what's the bright spot, Ron? Where do you see the biggest gains? Where do you see the biggest momentum?
Look, you get a lot of people that will have opinions as to why our number is at a decade-long low number. Someone will say, well, it's a result of 1365. Someone will say, well, gee whiz, you were in the middle of a cold weather period. Some people will say, well, gee whiz, they're arresting their way out of them. We count everybody's body that is in the homeless continuum. We count unhoused, unsheltered, we count sheltered. If you do the math and you do the numbers and you look at what's there, and by the way, if we had some large number in the jail, we would know that. It would show up in our data. That wasn't existent. That didn't happen. Were there some people there? Sure. 1, 2, 3, 5. But you can't look at that as any kind of an impact on what the total number is. The fact of the matter is that on the day of a point-in-time count, it's where the bodies are. Are they on the streets? Are they in shelters? Could we identify the number of those that were cold weather evacuees on those days? Yes, we knew it was 103 bodies. It wasn't 200, it wasn't 180. It doesn't equate to it. A 17% reduction is a 17% reduction, and we are ecstatic about it. Do we need to build on it? We do. Are we continuing as a result of 1365 to stand up more shelter beds, to create a navigation center? Absolutely. We've taken something that we didn't like, that was not good, and we have turned it into something that allows us to continue to be accountable to the taxpayers and accountable to the people we serve, the homeless population, by creating an opportunity out of something that people thought was just nothing but bad.
Victoria, so can you break down some of the numbers? Is it just down on the streets or is it down everywhere? What does the data tell you?
So our total sheltered and unsheltered population was down, but we did see an increase in our sheltered population. As the chairman mentioned, we had over 100 people in cold weather placement. That's when we go into overflow mode and people can come out of the cold when the temperatures drop below 50 degrees.
Do we assume that 100 will go back out on the street? What % of those do we keep?
We try very hard to retain everybody who comes in. We just looked at our last 2 cold weather events. In excess of 30% of the population brought in was retained. It is an opportunity for us during cold weather to really engage people who might not otherwise be interested in receiving crisis housing services.
Look, when you can hold people, that's what it's supposed to be about. We've become extremely good at taking a bad thing and making something good. We take inclement weather circumstances, tropical weather when it comes in, cold weather when it comes in, and our caseworkers and our staff are working them to stay. We track those numbers. We don't track them for the week after the occurrence. We track those numbers for many weeks, and our staff reports that information to our board because we're a data-driven resource allocatable based on what, where, when there are in that, if you will, point in time period. Look, when all is said and done, our job is to get people off the streets. The critical number is how many fewer unhoused, unsheltered. If you accept the fact, and you made the point, really, you alluded to it, that our shelters were bursting at the seams. But if you're creating capacity, In order to move that many more people, you're winning. Yes, shelter, we have a higher shelter number, but you've got a lower total in the aggregate. That's improvement.
So is it all sunshine and roses? This sounds like are there any warning signs? Is there did anything go up somewhere that gives you pause and says, okay, we should redirect and look at that?
I think the numbers speak for themselves. And like I said earlier, all we are focused on is maintaining a downward trend. So, we think the count went well. We're pleased with the results, but we don't know the factors that, are going to come in play in the coming months and years or policy changes. And we just want to continue that downward trend.
We're going to pay attention to what they're doing in Washington. We don't know what's coming. We have no reason to be concerned. We hear rumors out there, but the Trump administration during the first 4 years that he was in office treated us extraordinarily well, as we've talked about in the past. Look, is everything rosy? No, we still have 858 individuals unhoused and unsheltered on the streets. We've still got 2,800 individuals living in our shelters. We've still got to double down on creating housing opportunities, and we're doing that, and we're spending our money wisely, and we're renovating properties through adaptive reuse of properties to create more of that permanent, supportive, and transitional housing opportunities for those that we serve. No, we can't let up. We can't take our foot off the gas pedal. We're not where we need to be, but we know we're moving in a better direction than any other continuum in our state, and frankly, better than any other continuum that we are aware of around the United States of America. We have a lot to be proud of as a community, but there's a lot more work for the two of us and our team and our community to do to reach an end. We're going to get there.
All right, I have one more. Okay, I'm sorry.
I would say every day we're looking to meet the challenge before us. And on the macro level, that is, how are we going to scale up? How are we going to integrate new facilities into our communities? And at the micro level, it's how are we going to deal with this one complex issue with this individual or family? And we're tackling those with the same level of enthusiasm every day to meet the challenge before us and move forward, pushing to reduce.
That's awesome. So now that we've been doing this podcast, we've asked our followers on Instagram to DM us questions that they might have. We have one for today. It's our last question. This one is, so much is being talked about related to condo special assessments. And many of these are older buildings housed with people who've lived there most of their adult lives. Now that they're trying to figure out how, on a fixed income, they can pay these special assessments. Do you see that as a possible contributor of homelessness down the road as this issue of assessments hits more and more buildings?
Too early to answer the question. There's too much uncertainty in Tallahassee as to whether they're going to kick the can down the road for some period of time. That might take a little bit of the pressure off of those that need to put up special assessments, but we don't know. And here's what we are sure of. The foreclosure process, because those are fixed unit ownership properties as a general statement. Are there some rentals? Sure. There are always rentals in a condo market. Could there be an impact at some point? Yes. I can't let that get me off my game. We can't let that get us off of our plan. We have said for 35 years, you need three things to end homelessness. You need to have a plan, you need to have money, and you need to have leadership. You lose one of those, you fail. We don't knee-jerk change our plan. We will make amendments based on evidence-based data that Vicki and her team bring to the board. We will make a change to the plan, but we won't do it on a knee-jerk. We won't do it on the spot. We won't turn ourselves on our heels to do that. So I can't change something in our plan or change something in how we prioritize people, because somewhere out here in the deep periphery that I can't even really get a glimpse of, that something's going to happen to increase my numbers. I can't worry about that today. I got to worry about what's in front of me.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Again, if you have questions, you could DM us on Instagram. We'll ask them here. Congratulations on the pit count. The numbers are really encouraging.
Thank you.
Thank you to you and your team. We appreciate it.